My parents are pressuring me to let my unemployed brother move in with me temporarily. I said no, and now they're guilt-tripping me nonstop. The phone call yesterday was the one that almost broke me. It was Mom, of course. Dad usually lets her do the initial barrage, then he comes in with the flanking maneuver, the disappointed sighs and the "your mother's so upset" routine. But yesterday, Mom was on a roll. "Mark, honey, I just don't understand you," she started, her voice already thick with that manufactured sob she does so well. "Your brother, your own flesh and blood, is struggling, and you have all this space. All this success." I gritted my teeth, staring out my home office window at the small backyard Sarah and I have worked so hard to cultivate. "Mom, we've been over this. It's not about space. It's about..." I trailed off, because how many times can you explain your reasons before you realize they're not actually listening? "It's about what, Mark? About being selfish? Is that what they're teaching you in that fancy job of yours? To forget your family? That's not fair, Mom, and you know it. My fancy job, as she calls it, is a mid-level project management position I've worked my butt off for. It pays the mortgage on this modest 3-bedroom house, the one that suddenly looks like a palace in their eyes when my brother, Leo, needs a crash pad. Again. Leo is 31. I'm 34. He's been between jobs for the better part of the last decade. It's always the same story: the boss was an idiot, the coworkers were out to get him, the work was beneath him. He'll get a job, usually something entry-level because he has no consistent resume, stick it out for a few months until he gets bored or gets fired for his attitude, and then it's back to square one, living off our parents or, when they run dry, trying to hit me up. What's not fair is Leo sleeping on an air mattress in our sunroom, she exclaimed, her voice rising. Your father's back is killing him from trying to tiptoe around. And the grocery bills, Mark. You have no idea. Oh, I have an idea. I had Leo live with me for 6 months about 5 years ago. It was supposed to be just a couple of weeks while he got back on his feet. Those 6 months were some of the most stressful of my life. He treated my apartment like a frat house, never cleaned, ate all my food, played video games at top volume until 3 in the morning when I had to be up for work at 6. He forgot to pay his share of the utilities, forgot to look for jobs most days, and generally acted like I was his personal servant and bank. Mom, I said, trying to keep my voice even, I love Leo, you know I do. But he can't live with me. It didn't work out last time, and it won't work out this time. Sarah and I have a quiet life here. I work from home a lot. It's just not feasible. Sarah, my amazing, patient girlfriend of 4 years, is a huge part of why I'm standing firm. She wasn't around for the last Leopocalypse, but she's heard all the stories. She's also met Leo enough times at family gatherings to get a pretty good read on him. She supports my decision completely, thank God. If she were wavering, I don't know if I could hold out. Sarah this, Sarah that, Mom muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. She's got you wrapped around her little finger, hasn't she? Turning you against your own family. Anger flared in my chest. Don't you dare bring Sarah into this. She has been nothing but kind and respectful to you and Dad, and to Leo. This is my decision, Mom. Mine. Well, it's a terrible decision, she sniffed. I just hope you can live with yourself, knowing your brother is suffering because of your selfishness. I really do. What will people think? What will Aunt Carol say when she finds out Leo's practically homeless and you wouldn't lift a finger? Aunt Carol. The family gossip queen. Of course, Mom would bring her up. The idea of the family grapevine buzzing with tales of my heartlessness is her ultimate weapon. Mom, Leo is not going to be homeless. You and Dad won't let that happen. And he's a grown man. He needs to take responsibility for himself. Responsibility? She scoffed. It's easy for you to talk about responsibility from your comfortable life. He's had a hard time, Mark. He needs support, not judgment. The call went on like that for another 10 minutes, a circular argument of guilt, accusations, and my increasingly strained attempts to hold my ground without completely losing my temper. By the time I hung up, I felt exhausted, angry, and yes, a little bit guilty. That's their specialty. They know just where to jab the needle. Sarah came into the office a few minutes later, holding 2 mugs of tea. She took one look at my face and said, "Your mom?" I just nodded, taking a grateful sip. The usual. I'm selfish, heartless, Sarah's brainwashed me, Leo's a persecuted saint, and Aunt Carol is going to have a field day. She sat on the edge of my desk, her expression sympathetic. You know you're doing the right thing, right? Intellectually, yes, I sighed. Emotionally, I feel like crap. They make it sound like I'm kicking a puppy out into a blizzard. Leo is not a puppy, Sarah said firmly. He's a capable adult who has leaned on your parents, and you, for far too long. This temporary move would turn into another year-long saga, and you know it. Our peace, our home. It's not worth sacrificing for someone who won't even try to help himself. She was right, of course. This whole saga started about 3 weeks ago. Leo had been let go from his latest gig, stocking shelves at a grocery store. Apparently, his manager had an attitude problem because he kept pointing out that Leo was always late and spent half his shift on his phone. Classic Leo. He'd been living with our parents in their small retirement condo for about 4 months prior to that, a situation that was already straining their finances and their patience, though they'd never admit the latter out loud to me when it came to Leo. The call came from Dad first, which was unusual. He's more of a passive-aggressive type. "Mark, son, your mother and I were thinking. Leo's in a bit of a bind again." I braced myself. "Oh yeah? What happened?" "Well, you know, these things happen. Job wasn't a good fit. But the thing is, your mother's health. This condo is just too small for 3 adults long term. And he needs to be somewhere he can focus on his job search without distractions." I knew where this was going. "So, what are you suggesting, Dad?" "Well, you've got that extra bedroom, don't you? And the basement's finished now, isn't it? Plenty of space. He could stay with you for a little while. Just until he gets on his feet. A month or 2, tops." A month or 2. I'd heard that one before. The last month or 2 stretched into 6 months of hell. "Dad," I said carefully, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but that's not going to work for us." There was a pause. "What do you mean, not going to work?" His voice was deceptively mild. "I mean, Leo can't live here. My experiences with him as a roommate in the past were not good. And Sarah and I have our routines. I work from home. It would be too disruptive." "Disruptive?" Dad's voice started to gain an edge. "Mark, this is your brother we're talking about. Family helps family. What's a little disruption when your brother needs a roof over his head?" "He has a roof over his head, Dad. He's with you and Mom." "And I just told you, it's not working here," he snapped. "Your mother is at her wit's end. Do you want her to have a stroke?" And there it was. The guilt. The emotional blackmail. "Of course I don't want Mom to have a stroke, Dad. That's a horrible thing to say. But Leo is an adult. There are other options. He can look for a room to rent. He can get a job, any job, to pay for it." "Oh, so easy for you to say," Dad said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You, with your good job and your nice house. You've forgotten what it's like to struggle." Actually, I hadn't forgotten. I'd worked 2 jobs all through college to avoid massive student loan debt. I'd lived in tiny, roach-infested apartments and eaten ramen noodles for years to save up for a down payment on this house. Sarah had done the same. We built this life through hard work and sacrifice, not by mooching off others. Leo, on the other hand, dropped out of community college after one semester because it was boring. He's never held a job for more than 6 months. Any money he gets, from our parents or the occasional odd job, is usually spent on video games, beer, or concert tickets. The conversation with Dad ended badly, with him accusing me of being cold and unfeeling. Then Mom started her campaign. Daily calls. Texts at all hours. Sometimes she just text crying emojis. One time she sent me a picture of Leo looking forlornly out their sunroom window, like a prisoner in a gilded cage, if the cage was a perfectly nice retirement condo in Florida. The memories of Leo's last stay with me are still vivid. He'd just been kicked out of his then-girlfriend's apartment. He showed up on my doorstep with 2 garbage bags full of clothes and his massive gaming PC. Just for a week, man, I swear. Just till I find a new place. I was younger then, more naive, still holding on to the hope that Leo would magically mature. My apartment was a small 2-bedroom, and I gave him the spare room. The first few days were okay. He was quiet, seemingly contrite. Then, the real Leo emerged. The spare room started to smell like a locker room mixed with stale pizza. Dirty clothes piled up. Empty beer cans and food wrappers littered the floor. He'd use my bathroom and leave it a mess, wet towels on the floor, toothpaste spit caked in the sink, never replacing the toilet paper. He'd sleep until noon, then spend the entire afternoon and most of the night playing online games, shouting at his teammates through his headset. I'd come home from a long day at work, hoping for some peace and quiet, only to be met with a barrage of "dude, cover me," or "noob, you suck," reverberating through the thin walls. He ate constantly. I'd buy groceries for the week, and they'd be half gone by the next day. My snacks, my leftovers, anything that wasn't nailed down. He rarely contributed to the grocery bill, always having an excuse. "Oh man, I'm totally broke till Friday, or I'll get you back, I promise." He never did. The job search was a joke. He'd spend maybe an hour a day half-heartedly scrolling through job sites, then declare there was nothing out there for a guy like me. He complained that entry-level jobs were beneath his potential, even though he had no skills or experience to justify anything higher. The money situation got worse. I had asked him for a couple $100 a month towards rent and utilities, a fraction of what it would cost him anywhere else. He paid the first month, grudgingly. The second month, he was a little short. The third month, he just shrugged when I asked. I ended up covering everything, my own savings dwindling. I tried talking to him, setting boundaries. "Leo, you need to clean up after yourself. Leo, can you keep the noise down? I have to work tomorrow. Leo, we need to talk about rent." He'd either get defensive and angry, "Why are you always hassling me, man? I'm trying," or he'd give me his wounded puppy dog look and promise to do better, which would last for about half a day. The final straw was when I came home and found he'd thrown a party without asking me. There were about 20 strangers in my small apartment, music blasting, beer spilled on my rug, and someone had puked in my kitchen sink. I lost it. I kicked everyone out and told Leo he had 1 week to leave. He acted like I was the bad guy, the unreasonable tyrant. He called Mom and Dad, crying about how I was throwing him out on the street. They, of course, called me, begging me to be reasonable and give him another chance. I stood firm that time, barely, and he eventually moved back in with them, leaving my apartment a disaster zone and my bank account significantly lighter. I swore to myself, never again. And now, here we were, never again knocking at my door. Sarah has been my rock. "They're trying to manipulate you, Mark," she said after I recounted my mom's latest call. "They're trying to make you feel responsible for Leo's choices. But you're not. He's an adult. Your parents are enabling him by constantly bailing him out and expecting you to do the same." "I know," I said. It's hard to hear your own mother sound so disappointed in you, accusing you of being a bad son, a bad brother. It's harder to live in a home environment that makes you miserable, she reminded me gently. Remember how stressed you were after that party? How long it took you to feel comfortable in your own apartment again? We've built something good here, Mark. Our home is our sanctuary. It's okay to protect that. Her words helped bolster my resolve. We talked about it more that evening. We agreed that if my parents escalated, we'd present a united front. My name is on the mortgage, but this is our home, our life together. The next escalation wasn't long in coming. A few days later, on a Saturday morning, our doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole and my stomach dropped. It was Mom and Dad, standing on my porch, looking grim. Leo was with them, lurking a few steps behind, staring at his shoes. "Oh, you have got to be kidding me," I muttered. Sarah, who was in the kitchen making coffee, heard me. "Who is it?" "The cavalry has arrived," I said, opening the door. "Mark," Mom said, her voice tight. "We need to talk." She tried to push past me into the house. "Whoa, hang on," I said, holding my ground. "What's going on?" "We came to discuss Leo's situation," Dad said, stepping forward. "Like reasonable people." Face to face, he emphasized reasonable as if my previous phone calls had been anything but. Leo shuffled his feet, still avoiding eye contact. He looked like a sulky teenager, not a man in his 30s. "We've already discussed it, Dad," I said. "My answer hasn't changed. Leo can't stay here." "Mark, please," Mom pleaded, her eyes welling up. "Just for a little while. He's got nowhere else to go." This was a lie, of course. He could stay with them, however inconvenient they found it, or he could, get a job and rent a room like millions of other people. Sarah appeared beside me, her expression calm but firm. "Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Henderson." "Leo." Her politeness seemed to throw them off for a second. "Sarah," Mom said, her tone frosty. "I'm sure you understand. Family needs to stick together." "I do understand the importance of family," Sarah replied smoothly. "And I also understand Mark's reasons. We've discussed this thoroughly, and we're in agreement. We can't have Leo stay with us." Dad's face reddened. "So this is her doing, is it? She's turned you against your own brother." "Dad, stop it," I said, my voice rising. "Sarah has nothing to do with this beyond supporting my decision, which I made based on my own past experiences with Leo. This is our home, and the answer is no." Leo finally spoke, his voice a mumble. "I wouldn't be any trouble, Mark. I promise. I'd stay in my room, look for work." I looked at him. The same promises he made last time. "Leo, I heard that before. It didn't happen. I'm sorry, man, I really am. But no means no." Mom started to cry then, actual tears this time. "I can't believe this. My own son, turning his back on his family. After everything we've done for you. What you've done for me is teach me the value of hard work and responsibility," I said, trying to keep the bitterness out of my voice. Things Leo seems to have missed the memo on. Maybe this is the wake-up call he needs. "A wake-up call?" Dad scoffed. "You want to throw him to the wolves, is that it?" "I want him to take responsibility for his own life." I was almost shouting now. "He's 31 years old. He can't keep relying on you, or me, to bail him out every time he messes up or gets bored with a job." The confrontation on the porch lasted for a good 20 minutes. Neighbors were starting to peek out their windows. My parents threw every guilt trip in the book at me. I was ungrateful, selfish, cold-hearted. I was tearing the family apart. I was going to make Mom sick with worry. Leo mostly stood there looking pathetic, which I'm sure was intentional. Finally, I just said, "Look, we're going around in circles. The answer is no. It's final. I'm sorry you came all this way for nothing, but we're not discussing this anymore. I started to close the door. Mom put her hand out. Mark, don't do this. I have to, Mom, I said, my voice softer but still firm. For my own sanity, and for Sarah's. And honestly, maybe for Leo's too, in the long run. I closed the door gently but decisively. I could hear Mom start to wail on the other side. Sarah put her arm around me. You okay? I let out a shaky breath. Yeah. I think so. That was awful. You were amazing, she said. You stood your ground. I'm proud of you. We stood there for a minute, just listening. Eventually, we heard their car start and drive away. The silence in the house felt wonderful, but also heavy. The next few days were a barrage of texts and voicemails. Mom alternated between tearful pleas and angry accusations. Dad sent a long, formal email detailing all my supposed failings as a son and brother, and how I was causing irreparable damage to the family. He even CC'd my aunts and uncles on it. I couldn't believe he'd do that. Aunt Carol, predictably, called me. Mark, dear, I heard there's some trouble. Your mother is so distraught. Is there anything I can do to help mediate? Aunt Carol, I said tiredly, thanks for the offer, but no. My parents are trying to pressure me into something I'm not comfortable with, and I've said no. That's all there is to it. But Leo, dear. He's family. Yes, he is. And as family, I wish him the best. But my home is not an option for him right now. I managed to end the call politely but firmly. The guilt was still there, a dull ache in my chest. Had I been too harsh? Was I really as selfish as they made me out to be? I replayed memories of Leo's childhood. He was always the coddled one, the baby of the family, even though he was only 3 years younger than me. If he broke something, it was an accident. If I broke something, I was careless. If he failed a test, the teacher was unfair. If I failed a test, I wasn't trying hard enough. Our parents, especially Mom, had always made excuses for him. This was just the latest, biggest excuse. Sarah was a saint through all of this. She listened to me vent, reassured me when I doubted myself, and never once said I told you so, even though she pretty much had. She researched roommate wanted ads in my parents' area and even found a few places that offered short-term leases, suggesting I could send those to my parents as constructive alternatives. They probably won't even look at them, I said. They don't want Leo to have to pay rent or live with strangers. They want him to live with me, rent-free, with all the comforts of home and none of the responsibility. Probably, she agreed. But at least you can say you offered a solution, not just a no. So I did. I emailed the links to my dad, with a short, polite note saying I hoped these might be helpful for Leo. I got no reply. A week after the disastrous porch confrontation, my mom called. Her voice was surprisingly calm. Mark, your father and I have been talking. I braced myself. Okay. We're very disappointed in you. Deeply disappointed. But we realize we can't force you to do the right thing. The right thing still being, in her mind, letting Leo derail my life. Mom. No, let me finish, she said. Leo has decided to explore his options. He's going to try and find a room somewhere. It will be very hard for him. He doesn't have much money saved up, as you know. A little dig there. That's good, I said, cautiously. I mean, it's good that he's taking initiative. We'll see how long it lasts, she said, her voice full of doubt. But I wanted to tell you something else. Your Uncle Ben's 60th birthday party is next month. We're all going. We expect you and Sarah to be there. It wasn't a question. It was a command. Uncle Ben was Dad's older brother, a genuinely nice guy. We always went to big family events. Okay, Mom. We'll be there. Good, she said, and then hung up. I told Sarah about the call. So, they're not giving up, she observed. They're just changing tactics. Now it's the public shaming phase. You think they'll try to ambush us at the party? Almost certainly, she said. Or at least make us feel incredibly uncomfortable. We need to be prepared. The next few weeks were relatively quiet on the communication front, just a few passive-aggressive texts from Mom about how difficult things were, how Leo was struggling to find a suitable place, meaning, a place as comfortable and cheap as my spare room. The silence was almost worse than the yelling. It felt like the calm before a storm. I tried to focus on work, on my life with Sarah. We went for hikes, cooked nice meals, watched movies. But the upcoming party loomed over me. I dreaded the thought of facing the entire extended family, knowing that Mom and Dad had probably been poisoning the well, painting me as the villain. The day of Uncle Ben's party arrived. It was at a local event hall he rented. As we walked in, I felt like all eyes were on us. Maybe it was my imagination, but the air felt thick with unspoken judgment. We found Uncle Ben and wished him a happy birthday. He was warm and welcoming, as always, seemingly oblivious to any family drama, or just choosing to ignore it. Mom and Dad were holding court at a large table with Aunt Carol and a few other relatives. They saw us, and Mom gave a curt nod. Dad just stared at me, his expression unreadable. Leo was sitting with them, looking thoroughly miserable, picking at a plate of food. Sarah squeezed my hand. "We can do this," she whispered. "Smile, be polite, and don't let them draw you into an argument." We circulated, talking to cousins, other aunts and uncles. Most people were perfectly normal and friendly. But I caught a few pitying looks directed at Leo, and a few cool glances in my direction, especially from Aunt Carol, who kept sighing dramatically whenever I was near. Dinner was a buffet. As I was getting my food, Dad cornered me near the dessert table. "Mark," he said, his voice low and intense. "I hope you're happy. Leo found a room. It's tiny. In a bad neighborhood. He has to share a bathroom with 3 other people." "Dad, he's an adult," I said, trying to keep my voice down. "He's making his way. That's a good thing." "A good thing?" He scoffed. "He's miserable. And it's your fault. You could have prevented this." "I could have enabled him further, you mean," I retorted, my patience wearing thin, "which is what you and Mom have been doing for years. Maybe this will actually force him to grow up." "Grow up?" Dad's voice rose slightly, drawing a few glances. "He's your brother. You have a responsibility." "My primary responsibility is to my own household, to Sarah, and to myself," I said, meeting his gaze. "And part of that is not allowing someone to move in who has a history of being destructive and disrespectful of my space and my finances." "So you're just going to wash your hands of him?" "I'm not washing my hands of him. I'll always be his brother. I'll offer advice, I'll be there for him in a genuine emergency. But I will not be his safety net to enable his irresponsibility. There's a difference." Just then, Mom bustled over, Leo trailing behind her like a reluctant shadow. "What's going on here?" Mom asked, her eyes narrowed. "Your son," Dad gestured at me, "is telling me how proud he is that Leo is living in a hovel." "I did not say that." I protested. "I said it might be what he needs to learn some independence." Leo finally spoke, his voice whiny. "It's awful, Mark. The guys I live with are slobs, and it's so noisy. I can't even think." "Welcome to the real world, Leo," I said, a bit more sharply than I intended. "Most people don't start out in luxury apartments. You get a job, you work hard, you save up, you improve your situation. That's how it works." Mom gasped. "Mark, how can you be so cruel to your brother?" Several nearby relatives were now openly staring. I could feel my face flushing. This was exactly what I had feared. Sarah appeared at my side, a plate in her hand, her expression serene. "Is everything all right here?" she asked, her calm voice cutting through the tension. "No, everything is not all right," Mom exclaimed. "Mark is being incredibly callous about Leo's suffering." Sarah looked from Mom to me, then to Leo. "Leo," she said gently, "I'm sorry to hear your new place isn't ideal. But it's a starting point, isn't it? A chance for you to build something for yourself. Mark and I both started out in places that were far from perfect. It's part of the journey." Leo just scowled. "You don't understand," Mom insisted, turning on Sarah. "You're not his mother. You don't know what it's like to see your child struggle." "Perhaps not," Sarah said evenly. "But I do know what it's like to see someone you care about constantly taken advantage of, and to see other people try to manipulate them with guilt. Mark has been more than generous to Leo in the past, often to his own detriment. He's allowed to set boundaries to protect his own home and his own well-being. And frankly, enabling Leo hasn't done him any favors in the long run. He's 31 years old. It's past time he learned to stand on his own 2 feet." A stunned silence fell over our little group. Even Mom looked momentarily speechless. Sarah had laid it all out, calmly and rationally, without raising her voice, but with unmistakable firmness. "Dad recovered first." "Well, I never," he sputtered. The audacity. But before he could continue, Uncle Ben walked over, drawn by the raised voices. "Everything okay over here, folks? Cake's about to be served." Mom pasted on a brittle smile. "Everything's fine, Ben. Just a little family discussion." The tension palpably eased as Uncle Ben chatted for a moment before moving on. But the air between us and my parents remained icy. For the rest of the party, we avoided them as much as possible. As we were leaving, Mom caught my arm. Her eyes were cold. "I don't think I can forgive you for this, Mark. Or her," she added, with a venomous glance at Sarah. "I'm sorry you feel that way, Mom," I said quietly. "But I stand by my decision." And Sarah was only speaking the truth. She pulled her hand away as if I'd burned her. "We'll talk later." But they didn't call. Not for a week. Then too. The silence was profound. It was a relief in some ways, but also painful. I loved my parents, despite everything. I didn't want to be estranged from them. Then, about a month after the party, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Leo. "Mark?" He sounded different. Less whiny, more subdued. "Leo? Hey. What's up?" Not much. Listen, I wanted to ask you something." I braced myself. Here it comes, the request for money, or for me to co-sign a lease, or something. "Yeah? You know that guy you used to work with? Dave? The one who runs that small logistics company now?" I was surprised. "Yeah, Dave Miller. Why? Is he, like, hiring, do you think?" I was looking online, and I saw his company had some openings for warehouse stuff. Entry level. I was floored. Leo, proactively looking for work, and asking me for a legitimate connection, not a handout. I don't know, Leo. I haven't talked to Dave in a while. But I can reach out, see what he says. Why the sudden interest in warehouse work? I remembered him complaining bitterly about a temporary warehouse job he'd had years ago, saying it was backbreaking and mind-numbing. "Well," Leo said, and I could hear a hint of his old self, "my current living situation really sucks, man. Like, really sucks. And this job I got, bussing tables at that diner? The tips are terrible, and the manager's a jerk. Some things never change. But," he continued, "I figured, warehouse work, it's steady hours, right? And maybe if I get in somewhere decent, I can, like, move up eventually? I dunno. I just gotta do something. This shared room thing is killing me. A tiny spark of hope ignited in me. Could this be it? Could Leo finally be starting to understand? Okay, Leo, I said. No promises, but I'll call Dave. Send me your resume. And Leo? Clean it up. Make it look professional. No typos. Yeah, I know, he said, but there was less attitude in his voice than usual. Thanks, Mark. No problem, man. Let me know if you send it over. He actually did send a resume. It wasn't great, full of gaps and short-term gigs, but it was better than I expected. I called Dave, explained the situation honestly. My brother, history of being a bit flaky, but seems motivated now, needs a chance. Dave, bless him, remembered me fondly from our old job and said he was always looking for reliable people for the warehouse, and if Leo was serious, he'd give him an interview. Leo got an interview. And then, a week later, he called me again. I got the job, Mark. There was genuine excitement in his voice, something I hadn't heard in years. Hey, that's great, Leo. Congratulations. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Starting Monday. Full-time, with benefits after 90 days. That's fantastic, man. Seriously. It didn't magically fix everything. Leo was still Leo. He complained about the early hours, about how tired he was after a shift. But he kept going. He didn't quit. A few weeks into his new job, he called me. Hey, so, you know that apartment complex near your place? The slightly older one, Oakwood Apartments. Yeah? They have some one-bedrooms opening up. They're not, like, super fancy, but they're way better than where I am now. And I could actually afford it, if I'm careful. My jaw dropped. Leo, talking about budgeting? About living within his means. That sounds like a good plan, Leo. Yeah. So, he hesitated. I know this is a long shot. And please say no if it's a no, I'll totally get it. But the security deposit is kind of a lot. I was wondering if, maybe, you could lend me part of it? I swear I'll pay you back, like, $100 a month out of my paycheck. This was the moment of truth. My old instinct was to say no, absolutely not, I've been burned too many times. But there was something different about him this time. He sounded more mature, more serious. And he'd actually gotten and kept a job. Sarah and I had talked about this possibility. We'd agreed that if he showed sustained effort, a small, structured loan for something essential like a security deposit might be okay, with a written agreement. How much are you short? I asked. He told me the amount. It wasn't insignificant, but it wasn't astronomical either. Okay, Leo, I said slowly. I'm willing to help you with that. But on a few conditions. We write up a loan agreement, with a payment schedule. And you stick to it. And this is a one-time thing. If you lose this job, or get evicted, I can't bail you out again. You understand? Yeah, Mark. Totally. I understand. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. He sounded genuinely grateful. He got the apartment. He actually signed the loan agreement I typed up, and he made his first payment on time. And the second. Our parents were still distant. Mom would call occasionally, her voice still cool, asking for updates on Leo, as if I were his keeper. I'd tell her he was working, he had his own place. She'd just say or well, that's something, I suppose. Then came Thanksgiving. Mom called, her tone a little warmer. Mark, we're hosting Thanksgiving this year, just a small gathering. You and Sarah will come, won't you? It felt like an olive branch. A tentative one. Yeah, Mom. We'll be there. Good. Leo will be there too, of course. Thanksgiving was interesting. It wasn't the warm, fuzzy family gathering of years past. There was still an undeniable tension in the air with Mom and Dad. But they were civil. Polite, even. Leo seemed different. He was quieter, less boastful, less demanding. He talked about his job, about the annoying quirks of his new apartment, but not in a complaining way, more like normal adult conversation. He even helped Dad clear the table without being asked. Mom watched him with a strange, almost bewildered expression. During a quiet moment, while Dad was carving the turkey and Mom was fussing in the kitchen, Leo came over to where I was standing with Sarah. "Hey," he said. "Thanks again, for, the loan. And for the job hookup." "No problem, Leo," I said. "You're doing the work. That's all on you." He actually smiled. A real smile. "Yeah, well, it's not so bad, I guess. Actually kind of like having my own money, my own place. Even if it's small." He looked over at our parents. "They're still kind of weird with me," he said, lowering his voice. "Like they don't know what to make of me not needing them for every little thing." "They'll come around," I said. "It's a big change for them too." "Yeah," he said. "Maybe." He paused. "And sorry about all that stuff. Before. For being such a pain in the ass for so long." I was genuinely surprised. "An apology? From Leo?" "It's okay, man," I said, and I meant it. Water under the bridge. Sarah smiled at him. "It's good to see you doing so well, Leo." "Thanks, Sarah," he said, and for the first time, he looked her in the eye with respect, not resentment. The dinner was mostly peaceful. The conversation was a little stilted at times, but there were no blow-ups, no guilt trips. As we were leaving, Mom gave me a hug. It was brief, a little stiff, but it was a hug. "Thanks for coming, honey," she said, her voice softer than it had been in months. Dad just nodded at me, but there wasn't the same animosity in his eyes. Things aren't perfect. My relationship with my parents is still a work in progress. They still sometimes make comments that show they don't fully grasp why I had to set those boundaries, or they'll still subtly try to make me feel a little guilty. But it's better. Much better. Leo is still at his job. He's still making his loan payments to me, on time. He even invited Sarah and me over to his tiny apartment for pizza a few weeks ago. It was clean. Not spotless, but definitely not the disaster zone his previous places had been. He was proud of it, and it showed. We actually had a decent time. I learned a lot through this whole ordeal. I learned that sometimes, loving someone means letting them fall, letting them face the consequences of their actions. It's incredibly hard, especially when it's family and you're programmed to help. I learned that no is a complete sentence, and that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary for your own mental health and well-being. And I learned that sometimes, just sometimes, people can surprise you. Even your perpetually irresponsible younger brother. Sarah and I are stronger than ever. Our home is still our sanctuary, peaceful and calm. And I finally feel like I don't have to carry the weight of my brother's choices anymore. It's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling. Update. It's been about 6 months since that Thanksgiving. Leo is still employed at the same warehouse. He got a small raise a couple of months ago and actually took me and Sarah out for a casual dinner to celebrate, and he paid. I almost fell off my chair. He's still making his loan payments like clockwork. He's even started talking about taking a night class at the local community college, maybe something in logistics to help him move up at his job. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much, but it's definitely a positive sign. My relationship with my parents has continued to thaw. Mom calls me more regularly now, just to chat, not to ask for something or to guilt trip me. We still don't really talk about the incident, as I've come to think of it, but the tension has definitely lessened. Dad is still a bit reserved, but he's not openly hostile anymore. I think seeing Leo actually thriving on his own, even if it was a bumpy start, has made them reconsider their approach, even if they'd never admit it. The biggest surprise? Last week, Mom called and said, "You know, Mark, maybe you were right about Leo needing to figure things out for himself. He seems happier now. More grown up." I nearly dropped the phone. It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was acknowledgement. And for now, that's more than enough. As for me, standing my ground was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also one of the best. It cost me some sleepless nights and a lot of stress, but I protected my peace, my relationship with Sarah, and ultimately, I think it might have been the catalyst Leo needed. Sometimes, saying no is the most loving thing you can do.